The legal battles between Senior Advocate of Nigeria, elder statesman, Chief Afe Babalola, and human rights lawyer, Dele Farotimi, definitely makes the list of what happened in 2024. Dele Farotimi was arrested in Lagos on the 3rd of December 2024 following allegations of defamation brought by Senior Advocate Afe Babalola. The arrest was linked to Farotimi's book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System, which critiques the systemic issues within Nigeria's legal landscape.
His detention sparked widespread outrage, with activists, legal practitioners, and civil society organizations condemning the action as an attempt to stifle human rights. This morning, we're joined by Bettina Nweli as we explore these conversations as well as others, looking at what it means for freedom of speech in Nigeria, as well as judicial independence. Thank you very much, Bettina, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think, just like we did with Bernard, we should do the same with you. You've covered a lot of stories, you as well as our other reporters. You've put yourselves on the line, so I want to say thank you for constantly risking it all.
Oh, I
to
feel
bring
so
us all the
honored.
stories.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You. Okay, so let's get into Dele Farotimi before we come to the general stories that you've covered this year. You were in Ekiti at the last court hearing and where he was granted bail. So take us through, the story and what you think that this story tells about Nigeria's judicial landscape.
That question sounds like a setup question, but I will answer it regardless. Now, for the Dele Farotimi case against Afe Babalola in Ekiti, it just seems like the judiciary is, they are in a spotlight, a sort of spotlight for now, and people are waiting patiently to see how all of this is going to unfold. Are you going to, fold your hands and just watch injustice take place in Nigeria, or are you going to do something different? A lot of Nigerians, a lot of citizens, netizens, because we see all of this on social media, are of the opinion that, the judiciary have been bought. Nothing good, nothing justice can come out of the judiciary. So for the Dele Farotimi case, it was quite painful to see how court precedents, go on in the court. I was in court for the first time in my life, and I was opportune to actually see the precedents, and I'm like, okay, we can do better in this regard. But away from that, let's even take a look at the case in itself. Now, how are they judging a case, between Farotimi and Afe Babalola in an environment where it seems like it is Afe Babalola's home, his own fort? It almost seems unfair. The first thing that caught my eyes covering that particular story was the fact that one of the court buildings was clearly donated by Afe Babalola. So how do you now say that the people there are going to give judgment without any bias?
Wow. So, I mean, you've just led me to the second question. I was going to ask you, what was the mood like in court that day?
The mood was pretty, I would say it was 50-50. Some people in support of Farotimi, of course, and some people in support of Afe Babalola. We had people that came from far and wide, from Lagos, from Abuja, showing support and solidarity for Farotimi. And I was also glad to see that he was in quite good spirits. I saw recently, after his release, that, he was a bit emotional on TV and thanking Nigerians for all of their support. And I think that if I were in that same situation, I would also be emotional, seeing how people, rallied around, came, traveled with their own personal funds, with their own time to make sure that, we have to stand by this man because this is injustice trying to play, in the Nigerian judiciary system all over again.
Well, it seemed like it. Let's talk about your views generally on, the respect for the rule of law and judicial independence, the allegations that were made in the book, of course, which has, become now very popular, critiquing the judicial independence in Nigeria, and of course, alleging that there's a lot of corruption, going on in Nigeria's judiciary. Do you think that that narrative is still held very strongly across Nigeria?
Well, I think that it will be held even more strongly now with the way things have played out in court. Now, first of all, I would have expected that, okay, if you say that this man is alleging, certain claims that you are not guilty of, then find a way to prove yourself not guilty. Dragging him through the mud almost seems like, hey, I'm guilty, but how dare you have the audacity to call me out? That's what it seems like.
Right. Okay. I mean, many Nigerians will agree with you that indeed the spotlight is on the judiciary right now with Dele Farotimi's case, and even looking at several other cases, the bail conditions in some time, in some cases have been deemed unfavorable.
Because how is Farotimi having all of those, strenuous bail conditions And then we have a governor from another state who, first of all, has, tried to escape arrest for quite a number of times, but not having the same stringent bail conditions. It's almost as if, let me still pat me on the back, but if I say the truth, then, bring out the daggers and the swords and crucify me.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's move away from conversations about Farotimi, the rule of law, judicial independence, as I think that this formed the core of the end of 2024 and might, quite frankly, form the beginning of 2025. But let's look at an era that I think that you've done amazingly, is that a correct word? Yes, amazingly with. Climate. You've won several awards about, for writing and doing pieces on climate and sustainability. How well are we faring in telling those kind of stories and in terms of spreading the awareness here in Nigeria?
I would say that, when it comes to awareness, we are actually trying, but we can do more. There's still space for us to do more. First of all, there is no particular climate show on our Nigerian media houses currently. I know of a radio station that's only just started. It hasn't even picked up yet. But when it comes to climate, I feel like Nigerians still feel like, it's a world problem. It's not really peculiar to Nigeria. So what is the big deal? When you're even trying to sensitize citizens on, things that they should and should not do when it comes to, climate activities and just protecting your environment generally, it almost becomes a case of you are doing the most. After all, we've been using these plastics for 100 years and nothing has happened. Our parents, grandparents passed it from generation to generation. Why is it changing now? But we also need to remember that the only thing constant in life is change. So when we see that, certain practices that were used to in the past is beginning to affect our present and probably our future, we should be able to do something about it and, just take precautions and try to retrace our steps so that the future is actually certain for us and our unborn kids.
Yeah, I mean, many people would argue that, it's mostly because, in this part of the world, we're still tackling hunger, and you need to be well fed before you start thinking about, plastics and thinking about.
So let me put it this way, Osarage, add homelessness to the list of hunger and poverty. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you go towards Ekpe and towards, the beaches that we have in Lagos, you will see the shorelines are shifting. Lagos is literally sinking per second. In a few years from now, there probably will be no Lagos if we don't take actions now. Yeah. So at that point, do we now say hunger should be the matter of the day?
I'm just expressing what, I feel is, it occupies the mind of the average Nigerian more.
I quite agree.
The Nigerian government itself is what should be taking these things more, seriously. They should be the one putting out the warnings. They should be the ones monitoring, this, like for example, you mentioned the shifting of Lagos and the shorelines of Lagos. They should be the one taking it more seriously. But if they are not, the average Nigerian citizen is not, necessarily going to be so bothered about whether he's using straws or whether his, his
So let me just say this real quick. And before I say it, I have to say a big well done to the Lagos State government when it comes to environment and climate activities, because I think that amongst the states in Nigeria, they have taken the lead. I would say Lagos and Niger State are taking the lead when it comes to climate activities. Now, recently, this is like some 3-4 months ago, the Lagos State government, they partnered with the Oyo State government to clean some medians when you're traveling along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that had been, destroyed with defecation. And they cleaned all of that area. It was sparkling. It was good. On my way back from Ekiti, guess what? We have fresh produce there all over again. So do we now say the government is not doing their job, or the citizens are just not proactive enough to know that you're not a child?
So is it a sensitization challenge?
I think it's now beyond sensitization. It's now if you offend, there should be penalties. The only things that human beings understand is penalties. If you defecate on the roadside and you are caught in the act, by the time you are asked to pay a particular sum or you sleep behind bars for a certain period of time, I don't think you would want to find yourself in that situation again.
But there are some arguments that we don't even have enough public toilets. That we're still in 2024 discussing about having a defecation problem in Nigeria. So a number of these people that are homeless...
Olive, I have seen someone defecate in public outside beside a public toilet. And this public toilet was in good condition because I entered it. Okay. Now, I would want to find out that, okay, is it that this toilet is in bad condition? Is this why this person is... But it is in good condition.
All right, so
I mean, you can think better when you squat. on the roadside.
Bettina, we're
And there's
hoping that...
breeze.
Oh my goodness.
So we have
breeze
to,
is
maybe we have
important.
to put ACs and fans in the
Well,
public toilets to
exactly.
make it more conducive
Exactly, you know.
for people like
thank you really
Osarige.
for spreading awareness. And we're hoping to see more awareness in that regard in 2025, to see more people being, you know, conscious of their environment, being conscious of little actions they can do to preserve the planet. Like when you're brushing your teeth, you turn off the tap.
Save water, save
water.
electricity.
Yeah. Use Osage is like,
Save,
don't be that
save.
one. Don't be that
No,
one.
but it's us being so I understand.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much the same thing we should do with electricity. If we didn't start paying 225 naira per, you know, per kilowatt hour, a lot of people would be
All of a
wasting
sudden,
electricity.
Nigerians are now
We've
remembering
adjusted.
to turn off things in the
Yes.
house.
But
You know
there
what,
has to
we
be a
really need to
complete
get out
change.
of the
All right.
studio. But Bettina and Willie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
well
having
done.
me.
Cheers to winning more awards and telling more stories in the climate
Definitely.
space in 2025. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, this is where we end 2024's broadcast here on Breakfast Central. It's been an absolute delight waking up every day, bringing you some of the biggest stories around the country, the continent, and even the world. We hope to do this again with you in 2025, and we hope that you come on this journey with us. We want to say thank you to everyone, our guests, our producers, everyone who is a part of making this show a success. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you again in 2025. I am Olive Emoji.
And I am Osaogie Ogbon.
And
Willie.
as we wrap up, I want to say happy birthday to my auntie. What a way to end the year. See you
Happy
again in
birthday,
Texted Pride.
Auntie.
Bye-bye.